Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party is, to use their favorite word, literally going extinct. And no, it's not because they hate family and aren't having any kids, though I'm sure that's contributing. It's because a bombshell New York Times report did research on voter registration data on all the states in America that release it. And their research shows that in every single state, Democrats are hemorrhaging voters while Republicans are making massive gains, to the tune of 2.1 million voters lost for the Democrats and 2.4 gained for Republicans. And in reaction to this bombshell report, the left-wing media proves exactly why this is the reality by defending crime, homelessness, and of course their favorite, illegal aliens. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yes, if you didn't see my last video, the braids are officially gone and we have now entered the astute, gentleman, classy era of Brandon Lehman. So if you want me to keep up these dapper outfits, let's get this video to 10,000 likes. But let's take a look at this clip explaining this extinction event for the Democrat Party.
So the New York Times did a really interesting study of all of the states across the country that keeps track of party registration.
Yeah.
And what it reveals is how devastatingly Democrats have lost voters over the past 4 years. If you look here, this is all 30 states where party registration is known. And in all 30 states, Democrats actually lost voters from between 2020 and 2024. They even lost them in reliably blue states like California and New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. You can see where they lost them. Now, what gets even more interesting is you come over here and you look at all of the swing states. In every single one of the swing states, you see where Republicans have significantly increased their margins.
Look at Michigan.
You look at Michigan,
Wow.
that's 19.6. That's a 20% gain.
Wow.
Just in Michigan.
So those numbers are devastating for the Democrat Party, obviously. But we're going to dive deeper and show you just how truly screwed the Democrat Party is. Democrats love to reflexively say that Donald Trump only won the popular vote by a few million votes when trying to downplay the absolute landslide victory that he got in November. But they always conveniently leave out the Electoral College domination. 90% of counties in the United States voting for Trump, with every single county in the United States besides 2 moving to the right. He won all the swing states, he won the House, he won the Senate. The popular vote was simply the icing on the cake. But let's take a look at this article from Rolling Stones, which is a super left-wing news organization, but even they can't deny the Democrats have a serious problem. The article reads, Democrats hope they can regain control of the House of Representatives after next year's midterm elections. But according to a new analysis by the New York Times, the party is losing registered voters at an alarming clip. The Times found that of the 30 states that track voter registration by party, Democrats lost ground to Republican in all 30 of them between 2020 and 2024. The disparity amounted to 4.5 million voters nationwide, with Democrats losing 2.1 million voters and Republicans gaining 2.4 million voters. The registration advantage Democrats used to hold in battleground states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina has all but evaporated, while other traditional battleground states like Florida have officially flipped to Republicans. It continues, voter registration efforts aren't cheap, and the party's increasingly dire financial situation could hinder its ability to keep pace with Republicans. Politico reported this week that the Democrat National Committee is struggling to raise money, only holding $15 million in cash at the end of June compared to the $80 million in the Republican National Committee's coffers. The gap, which is growing, is almost twice as big as it was 6 months into Trump's first term. So not only is the Democrat Party bleeding voters at a concerning rate, but they don't even have the money available to stop the bleeding. Isn't it ironic that as soon as USAID got its funding slashed, the Democrat Party is now struggling to raise money? money. Not to mention what donors would be willing to give this losing, historically unpopular party any of their hard-earned money. Not to mention last month they spent $20 million on a worthless report on how to gain back male voters. So the party that lacks common sense and is incredibly out of touch, of course, has the brilliant out of touch idea to hire a high-end multinational Manhattan consulting firm to teach them how to connect with regular everyday men. This problem is so catastrophic for the Democrat Party that Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe has no choice but to call them out.
You know, breathing into a paper bag. I'm trying to calm down a little bit, but you know, John just quoted a remarkable stat out of the New York Times that in the 30 states where they track voter registration over the past 4 years, Democrats have lost to Republicans in every single state. Why?
So this is the $24 million question, right? Why are Democrats not, why are the polls bad? Why are they not breaking through? And I think it's a couple things. I think one is the people who are breaking through are brave, right? They talk like humans. They make the case, you know, and again, it's like Pritzker's chief of staff told me, it's not necessarily left versus center. It's fight versus cave. And the people who fight get support. And the people who cave or are mealy-mouthed or are, you know, very sort of corporatist-y, that crew, the crew that's afraid, cannot break through, does not appeal to voters. The question is, it's only going to be for people who really feel authentic, right?
Sherrod's never been afraid of a shadow.
Exactly.
He's always spoken his mind.
Chris Murphy, Sherrod Brown, Mondami, these people, AOC, they're not all exactly the same politically, but they are the same in the fact that they're brave and they break through.
So, Democrat Party, if you're watching this, let me give you a free piece of advice. If you want to save your party, stop letting people like this woman, cartoonish and clown looking, with her multicolored hair and her big fun multicolored glasses, the reins to determine the strategy and the direction of your party. I truly cannot wait for the implosion of the Democrat Party in the 2026 midterms. I think they're going to lose a lot worse than anybody can even imagine. Like this lady's talking about the Democrat base loves a politician who's a fighter. Huh? A fighter? Their definition of a fighter is Gavin Newsom stealing Trump's entire social media persona. It's unoriginal, it's childish, it lacks creativity, it isn't clever. But the Democrats are so desperate for anything, for somebody to do something, that they're celebrating this childish mimicking as impressive opposition. At most, all it does is satisfy the very small minority of people who still find the Democrat Party favorable, who are just happy with somebody trying to publicly annoy Donald Trump. I just imagine Democrats in 2026 making the case to their constituents why they should vote for them, and just arguing amongst each other who will be the most annoying and obnoxious on social media. All the elites in the Democrat Party, the people determining the direction of the party, are all Trump deranged. They don't like Donald Trump, so they've determined the entire reason for the Democrat Party to exist is to somehow fight and oppose Donald Trump, even though they've proven over these last 8 months that they don't know how to even do that. And regular, normal people who have fled the Democrat Party aren't going to come back because they've seen them lose over the last 8 months, and they've heard for the last 10 years about how bad and evil Donald Trump is. They're not putting forward any policy suggestions that will help the lives of everyday Americans. Here's Scott Jennings explaining why the Democrat Party is hemorrhaging voters in every single state. Take a look.
I think the Democrats are hemorrhaging voters because they've chosen all the wrong constituencies. They seem to care more about illegal aliens than American citizens, violent criminals than law-abiding citizens, and the Palestinian flag more than the American flag.
That is not true, and that is
when you take those positions on things like that, people tend to run to the other party. And
is there one mainstream Democrat?
You see how the panel was like, that's not true, Scott? Well, in the rest of this video, I'm going to show you clips from the Democrat media that shows he is exactly right. And that's why all they talk about is Donald Trump, because they can't admit to the American people what they actually stand for because it's so gravely unpopular. They want to import more third world immigrants. They want the American taxpayer to fund their lifestyle. They want men and women's sports. They want racist and discriminatory DEI policies. They want to police speech and make sure that people are only allowed to say what the Democrat establishment wants them to say. They believe American freedom means letting crime and homelessness run rampant in our cities. They believe white people are evil marauders and deserve to get replaced in their own country by the much more virtuous brown people. Here is MSNBC condemning mass deportations because it's causing a lot of anxiety and trauma in the illegal alien community. Take a look.
These arrests, they are part of a show of force, and they are happening everywhere, even outside of schools. Yesterday in Encinitas, California, a father was detained after dropping his kid off in the morning at Parkdale Elementary School. The superintendent alerting the school community that, quote, this incident was witnessed by family, community members, staff, and students, causing fear and trauma across our district. The fear instilled across the country, it shows no signs of slowing down, with brand new reporting in the New York Times showing that deportation numbers are reaching new highs because of this surge in arrests. The New York Times adds in that reporting, quote, with an infusion of cash from Mr. Trump's domestic policy bill signed in July, ICE appears poised to scale its operations even further. Faced with backlash over these aggressive arrests, what you just saw in D.C., the Trump administration continues to double down, claiming that they are going after the worst of the worst. But according to the New York Times, quote, almost all of the increase in arrests has been of people without any prior criminal convictions.
Democrats only afford this level of privilege and consideration to people who aren't even supposed to be here. When's the last time you heard them say that an American citizen shouldn't be arrested because, oh man, he has kids, he's got a job, he pays taxes? They're literally saying that the law should not be applied and enforced because, man, it inconveniences these people. When you import tens of millions of people into this country, what do you think it does to the job market? What do you think it does to the housing market? Hell, if 20 or 30 million people left America today, the price of groceries and everyday items would fall significantly. It's simple supply and demand. If supply remains constant, but you exponentially increase demand, prices are going to go up. But Democrats don't care about the well-being of actual law-abiding American citizens. All they care about is the criminals and the illegals. Here they are celebrating that MS-13 member Kilmar Abrego Garcia was ordered to be released by a rogue activist federal judge.
More breaking news on this Friday afternoon. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man who the Trump administration admitted was wrongfully deported to El Salvador, has just been released from federal custody. This is video of him walking out of the detention center in Tennessee where he had been held. Abrego has become one of the faces of President Trump's national immigration crackdown. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach joins me now. So, Gary, walk us through how we got here and why was he released today?
So for the first time in 161 days, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is walking out of a prison on his own volition, a free man, sort of, from Cookeville, Tennessee. He now has 48 hours to get to his brother's house in suburban Maryland. That's where a judge in Tennessee has said he is allowed to live as a part of his conditions of release for those criminal charges that he's under in Tennessee related to smuggling and human trafficking.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, he wasn't a wife beater. He wasn't an MS-13 gang member. He wasn't helping traffic illegal aliens. This man is illegally present in the country and should not be here. Yet a federal judge ordered that he be released from custody because they're simply playing politics, trying to usurp the constitutional authority of the president. Like the only mistake the Trump administration made was deporting him to El Salvador. They could have deported him anywhere else. So I'm confused why this man was not deported elsewhere the moment he returned to United States soil. Apparently they're trying to charge him for the human trafficking instead of just deporting the man. And I say, who gives a damn? Just get him out of here. Why do the taxpayers need to spend their money keeping this man imprisoned? It's like the least important constituent to the Democrat Party is a regular, normal, everyday American who just wants to enjoy a safe and clean country. Here is MSNBC saying that Trump is wrong for trying to clean up homeless encampments in Washington, D.C., because part of American freedom is the right to just live on the streets and do drugs and make life worse for everybody who just wants to enjoy it. Take a look.
Over the past week, the government has cleared out dozens of homeless encampments throughout the city, sometimes with little notice that they intend to do so. Homeless people have become a bullet point in the White House's new D.C. crime report, which the administration has been sending out daily with statistics of how many arrests were made and what actions were taken the day before. On Friday, for example, the White House says that it cleared out 25 homeless encampment sites in D.C. It adds that no arrests of homeless people have been made, but it's unclear so far what's actually going to happen to the people who lived in those encampments. At a press briefing last week previewing the administration's plans, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said, quote, homeless individuals will be given the option to leave the encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services. And if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time. They will be susceptible to fines or to jail time for being homeless.
When I lived in LA, I learned a lot about why the homeless crisis there was so prevalent. And it's not a money issue. The state of California has spent tens of billions of dollars trying to reduce homelessness. They build these expensive high-rise buildings that are supposed to house these people. And you know what happens? They trash them or they refuse to stay in them because these places institute rules. You have to be in by a certain time of night. You can't bring pets. You can't do drugs. And these people are mentally ill or they have serious drug addiction problems, and they just willingly choose to not stay in the housing provided to them and stay on the street. These aren't irredeemable people. They're just extremely troubled. And if you leave them to their own volition to decide whether they want help, whether they want to improve their lives or not, 9 times out of 10, they choose simply not to. That's why you have to force them to get help. You can't just allow them to deteriorate their own lives and the safety of communities by advocating for their right to pitch up homeless encampments in the middle of the street. In parks. I remember there was a vote by the LA City Council that narrowly passed by a 1-vote majority to ban homeless encampments within 300 feet of schools. Yes, California liberals were arguing that it was immoral to force homeless people to stay away from children, to try to make sure that for 300 feet outside of a school, there aren't needles and crack pipes and human feces just lying around. That's how disturbed and deranged the current Democrat Party is. They think they're being compassionate, but really they're just being cruel, both to the homeless people who deserve to get help, but also to the regular law-abiding citizens and children that deserve not to be screamed at by mentally ill, potentially violent homeless people. But the main tenet of the Democrat Party identity politics, victim hierarchy philosophy is they must intrinsically side with who they deem to be the lowest on the totem pole. Now, this last bonus video I'm going to show you absolutely shocked me. This story is about a 19-year-old illegal immigrant girl starting her first year at the University of Connecticut, revealing that despite graduating high school with honors and being accepted into a university, she can't even read or write. I am not kidding. Watch this.
Did you ever think you'd be going to college here?
No, never. Never in a million years.
In some ways, Alicia Ortiz is living an American dream. The 19-year-old began her freshman year at the University of Connecticut in Hartford this fall. She's excited to study public policy, the culmination of hard work after moving north from Puerto Rico as a child. Do you remember when you first came to Connecticut?
Yes, I remember I was very nervous, but I know it was going to be better opportunities for me to learn.
But Alicia says those opportunities never came to fruition. Even today, could you read this, or would it take you a long time?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
Alicia graduated from the Hartford public school system last year, but she says today she is illiterate. She still doesn't know how to read or write. When she was in early education,
they would just either tell me to stay in a corner and sleep, or just draw pictures, flowers for them.
This is what Thomas Sowell calls the bigotry of low expectations. Democrats with their racist worldview believe that anybody who is not white or Asian is somehow less capable at excelling or succeeding at the same rate. They artificially lower the grading scale to where now you can get an A with a 75% and you can get a B with what used to be considered a failing grade. And it's meant to artificially manipulate the numbers and show that these black and brown kids are achieving at the same rates as everybody else. And the Democrats have finally achieved their highly sought after equity. All they're doing is pushing these kids through school without them actually learning anything tangible, choosing not to hurt the feelings of these marginalized communities who, due to their circumstances, aren't able to achieve the same grades in a white supremacist school structure. They strip them of their potential and their ability to actually experience achievement. And then the colleges see these applicants getting B's across the board, even though the B's that they're getting when I was in school would be considered F's, and then they admit them into college and do the exact same thing there. That's why a college degree has become completely useless. That's why the student debt crisis exists, because people are getting passed and graduating without learning anything or acquiring any tangible, marketable skill set. And then after going $80,000 in debt and wasting 4 years of their life, they just end up working as a barista at Starbucks. And then after a lifetime of being told how smart and special they are, they get hit with reality and then they become angry and resentful at the system that lied to them. And that's why Democrats are so upset and hate everything, because they were coddled and their feelings were prioritized. And instead of being told life isn't fair, you have to work harder, get over it, they were told that the world revolves around their feelings and their comfort. And not to mention, the tax dollars of hardworking Americans are going to pay for these people's schooling. It's a scam. It's a farce. It's ineffective. It's destructive to the institutions of America that we are just churning out a generation of students who don't know anything, who can't read, they can't write, they can't do math, who believe that there are infinite genders, who believe that America is systemically awful and evil and racist, who believe that capitalism is exploitative and that's why they're not able to succeed in the job market. And then no wonder these people come out so hateful and then vote for candidates like Zohran Mamdani who want to tear the entire thing down. And that's why the Democrat Party has to focus incessantly on Donald Trump, because if they focus on what they stand for, what their track record shows, that 19% approval rating might drop down to a 9% approval rating. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.